Hello everybody, we're going to be talking about the Forbes list and their annual value of NHL teams. Now before we start, please make sure to like this video and join the Hockey Brigade by subscribing. Now let's get to it and talk about that value. So, Forbes, who I'm sure you've all heard of, does this annual thing where they list the amount teams are worth, and it's actually pretty interesting, and there are some notable things from this list. For starters, we as hockey fans should be really happy as the average team value increased to $865 million. That's an increase of 32% from last year. And this is the biggest one-year spike since 2013, whereas last year we saw a 2% dip because of COVID, and the team average value was about $653 million according to Forbes. Also, the Edmonton Oilers and their fans should probably be super happy because their value skyrocketed 100%, going from $550 million last year to $1.1 billion this year. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video. Also, two very notable things on this list were the New York Rangers being first for value for the 7th straight year and being first in the NHL to ever be worth $2 billion, the first team that is. Now, the league also saw multiple teams grow at least 20% or more from last year, with 29 teams hitting the mark out of a possible 31 because for whatever reason Vegas, their financials were not listed on here for this. Now, for comparison, only 3 NFL teams grew by 20% or more, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the only team to grow by more than 20%, and they grew 29%, which was likely due to the Tom Brady addition and their big name players being added and their contention status. And while I get that NFL teams are worth a lot more than hockey teams, it is interesting to see that we were able to get a lot of growth. It was good. Now, moving back to hockey, 8 teams that were valued above $1 billion, and those were the New York Rangers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Boston Bruins, Philadelphia Flyers, Edmonton Oilers, and the Los Angeles Kings. And that is him being listed in terms of value of highest to lowest, which means that 5 out of 6 original 6 teams are the most valuable in the league, and they're all in the top 5, which leaves the Detroit Red Wings as the only original 6 team not in the top 8, 4 teams in terms of value, while also being the only one that's not listed above $1 billion or at $1 billion for value. But I will say they are very close. They're at 990 million. So they'll probably get here by next year, I would imagine. Another fun fact is that Canadian teams take up the top 2 out of 3 spots on this list for value, and 3 out of the 7, obviously Montreal and Toronto, huge hockey markets, original 6 markets. You have bigger cities, especially Toronto, and it is just a really good thing for them. Now, over the past 5 years, the teams that have seen the most growth in terms of their value are the Edmonton Oilers, and get ready, surprise, surprise, the New York Islanders. They are likely adding that value because of the new building they had as well as the success they've had the past few seasons. Now, the bottom 5 teams on this list in terms of most value on this and least value goes as follows: Ottawa, Buffalo, Columbus, Florida, and Arizona. Now, while for some Arizona fans, I'm sure you're thinking, wow, this is terrible. We're stuck at the bottom, not only of league standings, but our value. There's still some positives to take away from this. This is the first time the team has ever been listed as valued at least $400 million from my knowledge, or at least since I've done my channel. And they're actually not dead last in growth from last year to this year. Interestingly enough, that goes to the Vancouver Canucks. I know, really shocking to me, but it kind of makes sense, I guess, in some ways. Their growth was 14%, and the team with the lowest growth besides them, get ready for this, the Montreal Canadiens at 19%. As for some takeaways that I wanted to talk about, I think it's fair to say that Toronto probably has a really good chance of, within the next year or two, being worth $2 billion as well, joining that club with New York, as they are currently listed as being worth $1.8 billion. And I think we could realistically see 4 more teams join the $1 billion mark by next year. Those teams being the Detroit Red Wings, New York Islanders, Washington Capitals, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh, I definitely think it because they have Liverpool, Boston Red Sox, and obviously them all in that conglomerate, or whatever you want to call it. And we also have to account that, while this is a good thing, this wasn't just Wow, everybody just joined in and loved hockey. We have to be serious here and focus on one of the big things, which is still a very good thing for us, and that is the ESPN deal that the NHL signed coming into the year. This pays the league $625 million per season for their rights, compared to the $300 million a year we are getting by NBC, according to Forbes. Also, we can safely say that I would think the values would likely go up as well, as jersey sponsors take effect next year, and whether or not you like it, personally, I don't. We do have to accept that it is making money for the league, hopefully, even though we don't like it, making it to where the game is more widespread around the world. So, for the final thought, Edmonton, I'm sure you're thinking, how in the world did they grow from $550 million to $1.1 billion in 1 year? Basically, Forbes just kind of admitted they undervalued the team. They said that they were really good in a lot of categories, and helps when you have some really good players that look like that they could win some serious awards this year. So we'll have to see about all that. What are your thoughts about all these teams? Do you feel like any team is way too high or low on this? There is the article online that you can look up. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts down below. Like this video if you like this video, and join the Hockey Brigade and subscribe. Yeah, everybody stay safe. Hey, have a great night. Eagle of Hockey, alright? Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.